It is a Wall Pass Wednesday. Quoting the great orator Joey Tribbiani. How you doing? John, hear you there. It is a stacked Blanken show. It is a stacked Blanken show. There is no way to phrase it. We got a lot of news to get into, and we've got the things to get into as well. And like I said, plenty to get into this morning. And here's the guest list. And with the guest list, the way that it always rolls, it is Tyler Pilgrim. He's going to join us from Scarves Inn Spikes, 9:15, as he traditionally does here for hour number one in the Atlanta United Informational Journalistic Exchange Program. And then 10 o'clock, our buddy Dylan Butler from MLSsoccer.com. He's going to start our MLS discussion, the week that was, get into the week that will be. And then at 10:30, it is the triumphant return. Triumphant return, I tell you. Tyler Terrence from Apple TV and MLS coverage. He's going to drop by for the first time in a long time, and we welcome Tyler back to the morning show to discuss the things. That's the official term. So it is today's show, Wall Pass Wednesday, is brought to you by the letter Tyler. Pilgrim, Dylan Butler, although there is no Tyler in Dylan, and in the word Dylan, and then Tyler Terrence joining us at 10:30. Busy night last night on the network. It was a 45-minute delay at Kennesaw Mountain. And I know that this will shock each and every one of you, but traffic in Atlanta is a pain in the you-know-what. And last night, for senior night at Kennesaw Mountain, New Manchester coming from Douglas County in a region that goes from basically Rome to Douglasville and is like a triangle, points in between. New Manchester was 45 minutes late, and everything with senior night got pushed back, and I think we ended up getting off the air about 11 o'clock. And so it was a busy night for Kennesaw Mountain. They ended up getting a sweep in boys and girls action, and they needed it to keep the pace on the boys' side in region play and get into the mix and the discussion, trying to get into the playoffs on the girls' side. So a big win for both Kennesaw Mountain on the boys and girls' sides last night against New Manchester. No games today, but at noon, we do have Soccer is in session. And we will catch up with our friends at Jefferson, and we will catch up with our friends in Metter, and maybe a couple of others. So we're on at noon. We'll see who shows up and however long they're there. And so we'll discuss everything. Soccer's in session, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. We'll take the tour of the high school game, and we'll go from 12 to 1. We don't have a game today. We do have games tomorrow. We do have games on Friday. So here's the rundown as we know them for the remainder of the week, guests and otherwise. All right, so you know what's happening today. Now, tomorrow, Lloyd Hours, the technical director from the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, he's going to join us at 9:05. He's going to bat leadoff, and we're going to discuss everything going on with their fundraiser and their Kickstarter campaign, trying to get folks to invest in the tournament, the Outrigger Cup, that is planned for August in Springdale, Arkansas, at John Brown University, with the Marshall Islands and 3 other U.S. territories competing for that entire week. You're going to have 2 matches on the 14th, a championship game and a third-place game, I think, on the 16th, so Thursday, Saturday. They're going to be there the whole week. Kickstarter campaign's up and running. They're looking for a $26,000 target. I think they're already a third of the way there in a little more than a week. And thanks to everybody who has invested to the point that they have. And, yeah, we're probably going. So we might be doing the morning show from Arkansas in mid-August. So Lloyd Hours et al., probably Matt Webb from Marketing Communications joining us as well to kind of get the breakdown of everything. We got to find out what happened with Lloyd on the last trip. Have to find out with Matt what's going on with the Kickstarter campaign, all those things. And that'll be bat and leadoff tomorrow. Then the Power Hour in hour number 2, it's Nino and Nico breaking down going around the world in 30 minutes and then getting Nico Moreno's thoughts. Paul Arriola was put on the season-ending injury list. What does Seattle do to try to fill that space? Are they confident with who they have coming up from Tacoma and who's on the roster now? Do they go digging? Nico alluded last week into chasing after someone with the available game that they have. We'll get the update on that tomorrow, get the update on Nico Ladero and what it was like for Houston to visit Seattle last week, and we'll get all that stuff in hour number 2. Then Thursday afternoon and evening, it's another visit to Perry for us. Warner Robins and Perry, the doubleheader, is going to be on the network at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. and it is also going to be available later on in archive and things like that. So Warner Robins and Perry tomorrow afternoon and evening for the network, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. SoccerDownHere.Mixlr.com. On the Mixlr app, go to SoccerDownHere.net. Click on the Listen tab. You'll know when something's live. You can click on it and listen to it there. Friday, it is Glenn Crooks is going to join us at 9:05. Glenn's going to bat leadoff and let us know what's going on in the world of NYCFC. We'll probably talk a little Georgia football, maybe some Georgia basketball with the UGA grad. See if our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring can join us at 9:30, and we'll break down what's on their minds with what happened with the U.S. collapse in Nations League, whatever else is on either Michael Parkhurst or Greg Garza or both of their minds. We've yet to have a show with the both of them. I think that'd be kind of cool at some point, maybe at the end of the year. Like the last show of the year for them, both of them come on during the holiday season. We talk about it then. But hopefully Beyond Goals Mentoring joining us at 9:30. And then we can whip around patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. Last hour of the week, we go through everything going on, get you ready for the weekend in Major League Soccer. Then it is a double header for high school. Actually, well, it's not a double header. It's two channels going at once. It's SDH 1 and 2 going Friday night. Drew Dickinson and I will be at the Battle of Five Forks Trickham for Parkview and Brookwood. And Jason and the rest of the band will be out at Sharp Stadium in Covington for a big region matchup north of Coney and Eastside. And so SDH 1 and 2 will be fired up on Friday. So it is two channels on Friday for high school presented by Kaiser Permanente. The Friday show in the morning to get you ready for the weekend with the guests that are there. Glenn Crooks, maybe Beyond Goals, and get you ready for the weekend. Tomorrow, Marshall Islands and the Power Hour with Nino and Nico. Warner Robins and Perry that evening, live from St. Clair Field on the campus of Perry High School. So Warner Robins and Perry. Then at noon today, once again, Soccer's in Session, presented by Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser Permanente, great sponsors here in the SDH Network. And that gets us back to where we are right now. Whew, that's a lot. Morning, D. Graham. So, yeah, that's a lot here for the week. But that's the way we like it, honestly. Literally really looking forward to it. Very, very busy. Morning, David. Morning, D. Graham. And that's the way things are right now this time of year. Busy. But we like it busy. Once again, the high school game. We are finally, by the way, you know how Jason has the 4-page schematic of where we would like to go and cover things. We finally turned to page 2. And so you're looking at all of that action, and then you have Atlanta United and NYCFC on Saturday night, and then you have the twos in Chattanooga, which reminds me we probably need to catch up with Chris Nugent and find out what's going on with Chattanooga FC as they get ready for the matchup with Atlanta United 2 at the Fraction on Sunday night. So, yeah, busy week, and the weekend is going to be just as busy. So, once again, thanks to all of you folks for being a part of it that you always are. And good morning. So hopefully you got your caffeine ready to go, and we'll discuss the things. That's the real important terminology is the things. From our buddy Ben Jacobs and Fabrizio Romano, we actually do know now the price tag that folks are going to be, or not the price tag, but the the payouts that you're going to get for everything going on involving the FIFA Club World Cup. If you win it, in addition to taking the not the Interstellar, what was the movie with Jodie Foster and when she goes through the time portal and it's the spinning hamster wheel that goes 360 degrees. I can't think of it. What's the Jodie Foster movie? It's not Interstellar. It's the filmography. It's the one where she was in outer space, or not? Not that. No. Where's my IMDb? Little help. Jodie Foster filmography. Okay, so it was Jodie Foster. Where's my filmography? Not Elysium, not Carnage, not Motherhood, not Flight Plan. I don't think it was. No, it wasn't Flight Plan. Contact. In Contact, it was where like they had the big spinning wheel and everything. So it's kind of like FIFA met Contact to get the trophy. And so we now know, both are still acceptable, I think. We now know the payout for the Club World Cup. Winner of the Club World Cup gets 125 million bones. Biggest prize money for a club football tournament over a 7-game format, according to our buddy Ben Jacobs. Once again, June 14 through July 13, U.S., Manchester City, and Chelsea, 32 clubs. Participation prize pool, say that 10 times fast. Participation prize pool. Is that a pledge pin on your uniform? Participation prize pool. $525 million. I'd love to know where that money's coming from, considering that the TV contract ain't for $525. So we'll bring in Tyler and we'll talk Club World Cup to start things off and find the smirk on his face in the green room to start. Oh, brother.
Hello.
Yeah, this morning we find out what the payout is for the Club World Cup for $1 billion tournament. An alleged $1 billion tournament. And it is an adventure for it to be shown on over-the-air television. But sure, it's $1 billion, and the winner of the whole thing ends up getting $525 million. $475 million for sporting performance. This covers wins, bonuses for each match. The same for every club. And so there is actually a minimum participation fee for the big guns, according to our buddy Ben Jacobs. Chelsea, Manchester City, Real Madrid, Bayern, PSG expected to receive a minimum participation fee of almost $40 million. Then you get the win by win and the round by round. You get more for winning. You get something for a draw. You get like $7.28 that you can go to the snack machine and get some stuff for. You get more for a win. You get like maybe $12 there. And then you get out of group, you get more there. You maybe get handed a 20. And so the European clubs for participating, for packing up their lives and coming over here for a month, could be anywhere from $12.81 to $38.19 million. CONMEBOL clubs get 15 to enter. CONCACAF, CAF, and AFCON get 9.55. Oceania teams get at least 3.58 for walking in the door. $2 million for a win, $1 million for a draw. I was off by a couple of bucks.
I'm just trying to figure out if I'm a player, how much am I getting?
What's in it for me?
That's what I want to know.
What's my payout?
Yep.
What's in this for me?
I like if I'm one of those European clubs,
I
need $1 million minimum.
It's like I need $1 million. It's like, so what's this worth? What's this worth? What is this worth to me?
Forget, winning a game and having enough money to then go to the varsity. I want enough money to then go and buy the varsity.
Well, no, but the thing is, though, if you end up buying the varsity, then it could be spoiled and it would not end up being the same varsity that we know and love.
This is true.
Problem. So
just buy it and change nothing.
Well, but where's the joy in that if you're sitting there and you've got money? Like, seriously, think about it. If you're like a mega owner of a club, doesn't matter what mega owner, you just insert mega owner here. And I know that we all have mega owners in our brains that we sit there and we reference in these situations where it's like, I want all the toys. I want to go to FA. I want to go to Sharper Image, and I want the levitating chair. I want the vibrating chair. I want the lava lamp. I want the remote controlled helicopter. I want the rotating coat hangers where I can sit there and figure out what suit I'm wearing. And you have your own like little laundromat deal inside your own house with that. For folks that want to go into Sharper Image and buy all that stuff, you just want to buy it and you want to sit there and go, oh, what can I do to change the menu? Nothing. Leave it alone. No, but the menu needs to be changed. Why? Well, because I'm buying it. Therefore, I want to change the menu to reflect what I want. It's not about what you want.
It's about what they want. Those people. But I would change one thing. I'm sorry, I did lie. If I win the Club World Cup or participate in it in any way, and I buy the varsity, I'm making it mandatory that every person that enters that door gets a little varsity hat.
Well, true, but here's what I would mandate if you go to if you buy the varsity. Sign on every door walking in. Doesn't matter which branch office of the varsity you're talking about here. Here's the menu. The menu you post to the outside. You post it on the glass. So when you are about to walk in, first thing you see is a menu. Big sign. Decide what you want right here. Because 9 times out of 7, there's always going to be a couple of folks who are going to be standing there, and literally they're going to be like this. They're going to be like, and you have all of those folks that have been there for 35 or 40 years, and they're yelling, "What do you have?" And then
they're just like, "What do you have? What do you have?" And in their head, I know it's.
I don't know.
What are you freaking doing? This place has been here for 100 years. Hurry up!
And it's like, this is my first time here. What do I want? No, that's not how this works.
It's either a hot dog, a hamburger, or some really greasy fries and onion rings. Like, there's only a couple of options here. I'll tell you what, ask the guy that has literally worked here his entire life, and he will get you the best thing on the menu. That's all you got to
do. What to do? See, now I'm promoting what we're talking about here. When you buy a restaurant and maybe some soccer, maybe some Atlanta United, but always, I swear, there's when you walk into and I say this knowing full well that we have been raised here and we know protocol and we know what to do. But there are always, and I'm guessing that we probably should maybe show a little bit of patience with these individuals who are wandering in for the first time, and they get their plastic varsity server's hat. But if you don't know what you want, just back away from the counter.
There's like 100 registers. Like, just back up until you decide, and then you can find one that's open. I promise. I promise. Last year. I think it was in the preseason, right before the season started. I had AI. I'm gonna see if I can find them and I'll share them again. But I had AI create some Atlanta United cross varsity kits.
Oh, so please tell me that you created a frosted orange kit.
There was a frosted orange kit there, and I actually didn't tell it to do that. Like, you give, the prompt for AI, and I wanted it to do its own thing. I didn't want to tell it exactly what to do. It came up with some wild ones. Really wild. I'll see if I can find them and share them.
I'm sure that there was probably something that's akin to the onion rings in a stack, or the fries and
yeah, there was a fry one,
like the burned fries on the edges, and it ends up like it's a white jersey, except it has the burned fries on the edges and all and everything. Oh wow! See, now the frosted orange varsity kit, that's got some promise because
it does.
Because you've got the peach. We had the peach kit early on in the lifespan of Atlanta United, but the frosted orange kit, that's got a lot of promise.
It does. You know what? While we're talking, I'll have it run a frosted orange. Atlanta United kit.
You're gonna run an AI frosted orange kit. Yeah, please post it to all of the media that is social. I know that we're supposed to talk soccer here a little bit, so I guess we should kind of steer in that direction. So that was opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee
and the varsity.
coffeeco.com and the varsity. What do you have? So, once again, it's just stuff that pops into our head here on a morning show. When you look back at what happened with FC Cincinnati and wow, if you want AI to do a Skyline chili kit for FC Cincinnati.
Nope.
Or
how ugly that could be.
Or maybe a Hudie Delight kit. Well, but that's the thing. It's like, so what kind of beer? What kind of beer do you want? Hudie Pole Light. What do you call it up there? Yeah, Hudie Delight. What? Yeah, I could definitely see a Skyline chili kit for FC Cincinnati out of AI. So then, what would you do for NYCFC? You could probably do a pigeon droppings kit.
Oh, that's not where I was going. I like it, because why not? Crap on New York City.
That's what they call themselves the Pigeons.
Yeah. I was gonna say like a actual skyline of New York, but hey, let's go with the pigeon dropping.
So you said it's like the Yankee Stadium U12 kit or something, and make it like U12 size, the kit, to where it's like a youth small, and that's the only size it comes in, as kind of a riff on NYC.
Just make it a baseball jersey with the Yankee pinstripe.
Yeah, well, hey, that would probably sell, and that
probably would. Yeah.
But then you'd have to do a Mets version for when they go and play at Citi Field, and then you'd probably have to do a Red Bulls version for when they go play at SI.
Yeah, this is true.
So now that you've had a couple days to digest, and I know that you and the fan base and the viewership over at SNS have had the chance to kind of digest what happened with FC Cincinnati, and thanks to our buddy Own Goal, getting a point out of it. What are some of your big takeaways now that you've had a couple days to think about it?
This was going into this game, I thought it has the potential to raise more questions than answers.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought, you were going to see a lot of potential changes in terms of like where players, did really well, where maybe they didn't. I thought you had two players that absolutely needed to have a big game because it was a golden opportunity, and that was Moranchuk and Shande Silva.
Mm-hmm.
Saba getting pushed over to the right, obviously that's one of the big stories. I thought this is by far his best game of the season so far. But I think as far as like the overall results, I think it's fair, if not a little frustrating. I mean, you give up a free kick in really dangerous territory, and then to add insult to injury, the ensuing deflection comes off the person who committed the foul that led to the free kick, and it's a goal. It is what it is, though. That happens. I'm not super concerned about that. The second goal by Cincinnati was a little more frustrating because it was just such disorganization by Atlanta United. But then on the other hand, I mean, you had a phenomenal heads up play by Cayman Togashi, the cross by Saba, phenomenal. And then a finish by Latte Life that was way more difficult than he made it look.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a really good goal by both sides, and then you have, of course, the own goal at the end to pull the equalizer. That was luck. So both teams have a good goal. Both teams have a kind of a lucky goal. Whatever. I think a point is fair for both sides because I think both teams had moments where they probably deserved to win, and both had moments where they probably deserved to lose.
You had a lot of absences for both teams, whether it was for injury or international duty or what have you. And for Cincinnati, it was less absences, but it was in key positions where you didn't have Denke, you didn't have Miles. Miles's status was kind of up in the air because of injury, having been pulled after 30. And then his traditional sub, Teenage Hadibi. I don't know how Hadibi is going to be in middle age, but Teenage Hadibi is on national team duty. So Alvis Powell playing out of position. Nick Hagland, who'd only played a handful of minutes at FC Cincinnati 2, is being thrown into the fray at the back. So there were a lot of dynamics at play here for a bunch of different reasons, and it came down to those depth minutes and those depth individuals that Ronnie Dyla, Chris Henderson, Garth Lagerwey had the trust in, either coming up through the academy, Will Riley coming back as an example of that, Matt Edwards being another example of that, or then finding someone like Togashi who you come in. And I don't know how many people have it, compute how heads up a play that is. We see it a lot of times overseas in play where, okay, we got to do something on the rush. And so someone goes in, you're confident, even if you didn't touch it, you sit there, you're confident it's yours, you go and make the throw, and then something keeps going. So Togashi, I think, did a really underrated thing that we don't see a lot of for whatever reason here in the U.S., and it ended up contributing to the goal.
Yeah, I have been on a like a one-man Cayman Togashi hype week based on, I like Togashi, I really do. Not just because of what he did in this game, but I just think the energy, and I've said it on here before, the energy and kind of discipline that he brings is just, it's kind of refreshing. And I talked about it in Spaces, and then on Sunday after everything, like when I see a play like that, it's so simple, but it is fundamental soccer. It is something that, like coaches try to beat into their, 10 or 12-year-olds heads, literally, like over and over again when you're a kid, because especially back then, when you're that age, you look, you're trying to win the game, and part of winning the game might be catching the other team off guard, kind of not
working quickly off a set piece situation, playing it short instead of taking the 38 minutes to sit there and set it up in direct traffic, something like that, a quick throw, being assertive in those kinds of situations, all those quick thinking things.
Yeah. And I mean, Atlanta and most teams typically they're going to have your, maybe a midfielder, a fullback take a throw in. But it's one of those things that if the opportunity presents itself, take the throw in. Like you see, and also I got to give credit to him too because I know a lot. Excuse me.
Go ahead and hydrate. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm about to.
Okay.
The throw in, I think there were some people saying that, it came off, came in, whatever. Like, you don't wait. Play to the freaking whistle. So there's another fundamental. Pick the ball up, take the throw in because you see that Saba is making a run and you only have one guy standing in front of you. He's wide open, can't be offside on a throw in. Take it quickly. Let's go. Don't wait for Brooks Lennon to work his way up there so you can drop the ball to him and then figure it out. Like, no, go. Like, this is fundamental soccer stuff. And it makes me happy when I see a professional player do fundamental things because fundamentals in any sport, and I'm not saying that this encapsulates like Cayman, but fundamentals can make an average player way, way, way above average. If you do the fundamentals right. And it's simple. Like the fact that we're having a conversation about a freaking throw in in a professional soccer match is kind of insane because you just don't see stuff like that often. Like just heads up play. I really enjoyed like just his wherewithal to come in, especially kind of coming in cold, not too long before that. And saying, hey, like, let's go. And so I don't know. I was really impressed with kind of his work rate, but then, just his ability to kind of know when to continue the tempo and continue to push things. Cause there is a time to slow the game down on a throw in. That's not the time. And so I thought he read that perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, when you have, think of it like a boxing match, when you're standing in the center of the ring, and you hit that jab or you hit that uppercut and it causes your opponent to go back on their heels a little bit, that's not the time to sit there and go, okay, I've got him going back into the ropes. I think I'll try and set him up with no. That's when, if he's backtracking, that's when you sit there and you chase after, you lunge with the straight jab and you sit there and you try to knock him through the ropes and knock him out of the ring. That's not something where you're sitting there and it's like, okay, all right, what do I do now? I've got him on his heels. No, that's when you push, and you got to see that with Togashi, with something that is fundamentally unappreciated, I think, in being aggressive off a throw-in late in a match when you're chasing after an equalizer.
Yeah, like it's simple things. Like, I mean, fundamentals. Like I'm going to keep saying it, but it's just, I think it's just refreshing because you don't always see that, and it's not just an Atlanta thing. I mean, in a lot of professional sports, I think sometimes players think that the talent is just what can keep them afloat. But if you take talent and then you combine it with just sticking to your roots and sticking to the fundamentals, like those two things are a deadly combination. But I think so many players get so caught up in the work rate part of it, like the working side of like being a professional athlete, that you go in, you get in your routine, you go to the gym, you go do the drills that you're told to do. And sometimes you kind of forget to like think on your own, like you did when you were a kid, and maybe deviate from the plan a little bit because it's doing something fundamental. And you almost, I think, work that out of players in the modern game. And I think that's unfortunate. So it also says something too about Keima Togashi with, I mean, he lived in Japan. He played in the J League for so long. The cultural differences there are a part of it. Like you take something in Japanese culture in general. I'm not just talking about soccer, but you take something basic and you do it to perfection. And I know, like, I feel like we're making a really, really, really big deal about something as simple as a throw in, but that's what it's all about, right? It's about being aware of what's going on and about having your focus 100% on the game that's in front of you. And if the entire team would have that same mindset about focusing for 100% of the game, this team would probably be undefeated right now.
Wall Pass Wednesday here on SDHAM, and today's Wall Pass Wednesday is brought to you by the letters Tyler. Tyler Pilgrim from SNS here in hour number one. Tyler Terrence joining us at 10:30 Dylan Butler will be joining us at the top of the hour to discuss everything as we kind of steer our discussion to Major League Soccer. Because of the absences that we had with Atlanta United, that meant that folks had to step up and step in. Matthew Edwards continued to step in, and at right center back, basically. He was part of the center back pairing. He was on the right-hand side inside because no Steon Gregerson. And then you had Will Riley, whom we've known since his time with the Twos. You're sitting there going, okay, he's going to, if he continues his progression, he's really going to turn into something. Goes to Stanford, comes back, and by a lot of metrics, the conversation's out there that it was by far one of the best starts that you could have seen from anyone in an Atlanta United uniform coming up, being a youngin' and having that kind of a start. Will Riley, by the way, if it wasn't for his yellow card, I'm fairly certain he would have had the highest SofaScore rating. That went to Saba, by the way.
Yep.
At a 7.6. Here's all the different columns that Will Riley checked in on other than 90 minutes played, and we'll get to that separately. There was actually an XA. He did have a possibility of an assist. 82 touches, 82% passing. Irony not escaping me there. 2 key passes. 1 for 3 on the dribble, 9 of 16 on his ground duels, won his only aerial duel, was fouled 5 times.
Yep.
5 times. Once again, Rosendo Mendoza, that's another topic of conversation. 2 clearances, 3 blocks, 4 picks, 3 total tackles, and fouled 5 times. That's hitting it in every single category for Will Riley back in the matchup against Cincinnati.
I thought, honestly, from the moment the opening whistle blew, I mean, we were doing our watch along at the time, so I was watching this, with a handful of people, and he was the one I wanted to focus on. I mean, you always have to keep an eye on the guy that's getting his first MLS minutes, right? And then, of course, Matt Edwards, which I got to really sidebar. Matt Edwards, I thought he actually did a really, really good job.
Yeah.
He's going to get dinged, of course. The story's going to be about the stupid free kick. But, when you're, 4th or 5th guy in line as a center back who's not really a center back, even though he's played it before.
Yeah. It's have you done this before? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead. Even though you're not supposed to be there technically. Whatever. I'm not mad at Matt at all. I thought he did a solid job. Made a mistake, got punished on it. It is what it is. Will Riley, though, I thought it wasn't, sometimes you see players come in and their intro, their debut, and they look good based on, I think, just the sheer adrenaline and moment, they rise to the occasion just based on their athleticism and their excitement, and they also can make mistakes because of those same things. But I thought Will Riley, I think he did that, but I think he also played very intelligently. He played like a mature midfielder and a calm midfielder, which kind of goes against what I was just saying. But I think in moments where he needed to make the smoother pass or the sometimes the riskier pass, sometimes the safe pass just to kind of play out of pressure, he was doing all those things right. I thought that was very impressive because, you tend to think, all right, first MLS minutes, this is going to get kind of helter-skelter, it's going to get a little crazy. But I thought Will showed a level of maturity that I don't think people were expecting. I mean, again, we've seen him, before coming up through the pipeline, Stanford, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even by those standards of people that have seen him before, I thought this was very impressive by Will.
And you add to that the fact that he gets a yellow card in the 27th minute in the decisional chaos that was referred to as Rosendo Mendoza in the middle. 27th minute, he gets a yellow. And I know that there was a train of thought that, okay, it's his first start, and outside of listening to Ronnie Dyla post-match where Coach was like, why would I sub him off? I'm sure that there was that trepidation by folks. Okay, let's get to the half. Muyumba has been injured. It looked like Mateus Click started to warm up, but it didn't look positive, and so that wasn't necessarily an option. So you bring in Togashi as a part of it instead. All of these mitigating factors that are there, and you're trying to figure out, okay, clutch, change gears, hit the gas. Okay, we're in second. Now what do we do? Do we put it in neutral for a little bit? He played 62 minutes on a yellow card in his first start in Major League Soccer. I think that you can't sit there and ignore either. You mentioned the calmness that he approached it with. I mean, a lot of folks would probably sit there and get that yellow in the game state that we were in, and you're like, okay, was that yellow? Was it orange? Do I need to back off? Do I need to, be less of who I am? Will Riley navigated the extra 60 minutes, got to the half, and then got through the second half. And I mean, it was the navigation he had also, I thought, was stellar.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's part of it too. Like, I mean, should he have had the yellow in the first place? No, whatever. But you got one, right? And then you got to deal with, and especially, a defender, a midfielder, having a yellow is probably a little more dangerous than maybe, a striker or a winger. Because you're going to start getting picked on. And as a guy getting his first MLS minutes, I think you did see Cincinnati maybe push him a little bit, but I thought he kind of merged into it well. I thought he handled it very well. And I mean, it was just, like I said, it was a very mature performance. And for him, yeah, to not let the kind of the monkey on the shoulder yellow card waiting there, kind of whispering in his ear, like, haha, you're so close to a red, not messing with him. Like he was able to, kind of brush the monkey off and say, all right, like, we're good. I'm just going to keep playing my game and maybe play it a little smarter because I do have to be a little more careful, but I'm not going to let that, I'm not going to let myself overthink it into being ineffective as a midfielder. I thought he was still just as effective after the yellow than he was before. So I just thought, like, sometimes you look at like a game state and then you look at a player's game state and it kind of does, the wave or the heartbeat or whatever. I thought Will, in the best, and I mean this in the best possible way, it went up and then he flatlined and it was just good. It was just a good, steady performance all the way across. And I thought, I was truly impressed by him. I liked it a lot.
The sign of the times, SIN. The sign of the times. And Kefsi in the Twitch pitch is mentioning how it is not the easiest task to keep Evander in check. And you had, once again, Tristan Muyumba, who was out after 40. You're having to navigate, okay, what's the assignment? Who's going where? What's the spacing? How are we doing all this? You mentioned Matt Edwards. Will Riley is, right there in the heart of all of that discussion. And you have all of these folks that have been called upon. You got tapped. You're in. And I think you navigated it well. Let me go. So now that we're on Evander's thought pattern here, let me check. And with Evander, by the way, he ended up with 2 goals, a 9.8 on SofaScore. I didn't know that was possible, but okay, 9.8, 2 goals. But your XG plus XA, your X output, was only a 0.68. But you end up with a goal off a deflection on a set piece, and then finding space while folks are trying to figure out, okay, do I mark? Do I push? Do I press? Evander finds the space and gets it into the net. So 4 shots on target, 2 shots blocked. The other 2 technically go in. 1 of 5 on the dribble. I think that speaks a lot to the defense for Atlanta United.
Yep.
1 of 5 on the dribble, 82 touches, 82% passing, 2 key passes, only 1 cross, 2 long balls on the day. He only wins half of his duels. He was 9 of 19, lost both in the air, understandably so. 9 of 17 on duels on the ground, which I think is interesting. 20 times, 20, 2-0, more than 19, not quite 21. 20 is where you split your hand. 20 times Evander had possession taken from him by Atlanta United defense in that game on his 82 touches. So that's basically 25% of the time that there was a touch, Evander loses possession from Atlanta United's defense. 3 fouls on the day. He was fouled 4 times. He was offside once. He had 4 tackles, and he had 1 time where he was dribbled past. So that's the numbers for Evander, and they still give him a 9.8 because of the 2 goals on the board.
The scores are so skewed.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see here.
Why, yes, they are.
Let me see, because I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
We, when we do our post-match, like our Sunday show or reaction show.
Reaction.
Yeah.
I want to hear from you.
We use FOTMob.
Okay.
for no particular reason, but we just do. They gave him a 9.2.
Okay.
I just think, going back to Matt Edwards as well, there's 20 times that he was dispossessed or whatever it was. Matt Edwards was the reason for quite a few of those.
Yes.
And I thought it was interesting too. Evander was, he's playing as your traditional, attacking midfielder. He's getting involved. I mean, in that part, he did really well. Of course, he converts the chances. Great. I mean, he did those things right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was after the first goal.
Yeah.
Especially Matt started stepping way higher up to kind of go after Evander. Mm-hmm. And I haven't watched the second goal back enough to determine exactly where it all went wrong. It definitely, there was some miscommunication there, but I thought he made it a point after that first goal to kind of put a little bit more pressure. And I think a lot of those dispossessions came from him kind of getting in Evander's face. And, a guy that is technical as him to be 1 of 5 on the dribbles and get dispossessed so many times, that's, like you said, that says a lot for Atlanta's defense. And again, Matt Edwards had a pretty good game, minus the one really bad accident.
What did FotMob give Matt Edwards, by the way?
FotMob gave him,
because SofaScore went harsh and gave him a 6.4.
Well, FotMob was much harsher. Gave him a 5.8.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he was unfortunately the lowest rated Atlanta player. The lowest rated Cincy player was Powell for obvious reasons.
6.5 here on SofaScore, but Pedro Amador was rated lowest on SofaScore at a 6.3. The back line for Atlanta United, just for comparison's sake, Amador 6.3, Derek is 6.6. Matt Edwards with the yellow card dropped to a 6.4, which to me means that if he didn't have the yellow, he'd probably be like a 6.6 or a 6.7. And Brooks Lennon a 6.5. So the lowest on the back line was Amador, according to SofaScore.
FotMob, I mean, of course, like I said, Matt with the 5.8, then Amador at a 6.1. So he's pretty low. Then Williams at a 6.5, Lennon at a 6.6, and then Brad Guzan getting totally shafted with a 6.2.
6.8 on SofaScore. So Brad, 4 saves on the day, 1 punch clear, 2 saves from inside the box, 52 touches, 56% passing, 25 of 45, 8 of 26 on long balls, 2 clearances for Brad on the day. That gave him 6.8 for SofaScore in the rankings. But another topic that I wanted to discuss with you was Saba on the right. And because of the absences that we had with Atlanta United, that meant that you still had a lot of your veteran presence up top. Latte Lot, obviously, with a goal that I'm thinking I need to go back and look, but it was pretty blank and close on the second one that was waved off. And that meant that you had Miranchuk, Latte Lot, and Saba with Shande on the left-hand side. And because of Shande on the left, I think Saba, I don't recall a whole lot of overlap with Shande and Saba. I thought Saba stayed at home most of the day. Is my memory right there?
Yeah, I think so.
And so Saba staying on the right-hand side, highest rated player according to SofaScore with a 7.6, causing all kinds of havoc on the defensive left with Engel, who once again in the color your own adventure foul calling and rule book, Lucas Engel got an early yellow. And I was saying, okay, run at him. Run at Lucas Engel now. Literally, I'm like, Mickey telling Rocky to go left-handed and Rocky too. Now, and so Saba punches a 7.6, active on the attacking right and making sure that Nick Hagland, who hadn't had a whole lot of minutes, and Engel on a yellow, really couldn't step out to challenge for fear of picking up that second yellow or getting fouls in bad spots if you're Cincinnati.
Yeah, and that was always going to be kind of one of the keys to this game, right? Like for both teams, like go after the inexperienced guys or the guys that are playing out of position or whatever. I mean, now, yeah, you have to. Saba and the entire right side, I think, just was lights out. I thought they were really, really good. I mean, we've talked about Cayman Togashi when he came on. He got screwed entirely on FOTMob, by the way.
Oh,
100%. He got a 6.2.
What?
I'm not happy with that at all. But I think there was a lot of link up, a lot of connection on that right side, and then on the left side, I feel like it was almost null and void. It didn't really happen for Shonday. And maybe part of that is due to Pedro maybe not having the best game, and I think there's something to be said. Maybe Amador with Riley kind of drifting over there a little bit, and then Silva, like those guys have had zero time together at all. So I think that there's definitely something to be said there. I wanted to see Shonday just step up a little bit more, and like really grab that left wing position and make it his own again. And it's not that he had a terrible game. He was just kind of not as effective, not there like I think everybody wanted to see him.
Yeah.
Especially because during the week he talked a lot about, this is his opportunity. This is his moment, to kind of get back in. Of course, Edwin's out for a while. But you had your attackers. It's not like it was the previous year's traditional trip to Ohio where you have no attackers and then maybe one like Shonday. You had your target man. You had your other guy on the right. You had your number 10 playing. Like you had opportunities to make something happen. And it just wasn't as effective down the left. But I think that right side just connected really, really well. In the future, you just have to be a little mindful of not letting that become the main way that you attack, because then it becomes predictable, right? Like you've got to do it down both sides. You got to do it through the middle. So, but Saba, best game of the season by far.
And we got the news yesterday that right now it looks like Tristan is out for 3 weeks with a sprain and a strain. That's not the pair that you want when you're playing. When you're playing as an athlete, you don't want that kind of a pair when you're playing athletic poker. That's not the kind of pair that you want, a sprain and a strain. So you're looking at 3 weeks, which once again presents opportunity. Co-host.
Yeah, she's leaving, so she wanted to come say bye. You say bye?
Bye. There you go.
You got some voice out of her today.
There you go. Peace out, Girl Scout. But it's so what does the boss think? What does the co-host think about what happened with Tristan being injured out for 3 weeks and now creating more opportunities?
Say that's not good for Tristan. Okay, you're gonna baby talk.
Well, no, that's not. Well, I think I got it. That's not good for Tristan out of there. I thought that's what I heard.
I think it's frustrating from Tristan's perspective because he's kind of been in a resurgent, couple of games. This has been an opportunity for him, and he's been really solid, I think. And I mean, you saw it when it happened, right? Like he made the tackle and then he went to go get up and he kind of got up like at a weird angle, and you just knew when you saw it, like, at first I thought it was his ankle.
I thought so too, because I thought he reached for a different ankle than it was, like the left ankle and the right knee, and I was like, okay, that's not a good combination.
Yeah, yep. And then when you're sitting there watching him get carted off, it's like, oh, that's never a good sign. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's frustrating. Thankfully, this team does have midfield depth if they've got any depth for sure. And, I think you've got guys they're coming in and you're not missing a whole lot. Like they're bringing their strengths, but they're not really exacerbating any weaknesses. I think the midfield to me has not been the problem at all for the team this season. It's actually been pretty solid in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you look at what we've seen when Mateus Click has been healthy with Bart and his relationship with Click, and Tristan embracing what Ronnie Dyla wants him to do in those positions, Jay Fortune continuing to evolve. So, I mean, you're looking at that group right there and you're like, yeah, okay, at 100%, I'm digging that group in the midfield and what Ronnie Dyla wants them to do.
Yeah, because I think one of the focuses this year coming into the season, and Dyla, I'm not saying that Dyla stated this. I'm kind of just based on everything we saw in the preseason, everything that we did talk to Dyla about. going back to the Chattanooga game, play the ball forward, like stop playing the ball backwards. I think you're seeing maybe a little bit more of some of these more attack-minded midfielders being told, like, hey, take a few more risks, play the ball forward, play in the guy. Like, you have attackers up top who are really, really good and really, really talented. Play to them. Don't always play the safe ball. And I think, like, especially Tristan Muyumba, who when he came in 2023, that was a breath of fresh air because it was like, oh, look at him. He's mobile. He's everywhere. He's, playing the ball forward. He's trying to play the connector. Does it always come off perfectly? No, but he's at least, making those passes forward. I'd much rather you turn the ball over when you're playing it to your striker than when you're playing it back to a center back. So this has kind of been like a couple of games of him just being really solid. And I think at the end of the day, like 3 weeks for what we saw on the field is actually not that bad because I was very concerned it was going to be much longer. But then, I just hope it doesn't ruin, his kind of flow that he had going on. But then the rest of the guys, we talked about Will Riley. Do I think you're just going to automatically see him get tons of minutes? No. But I think like that was an amazing showing, and it shows a lot of promise for him to develop, going forward. Slish is coming back. I've seen a lot of Bartek Slish criticism. I don't know, man. I think low key, he's probably been one of the better players on the field this season. I haven't had a problem with Bartek. And then I think Cleek, like when he came on in this game, I actually thought he wasn't the best, but also he wasn't supposed to maybe play as many minutes as he did. He's coming off the flu. He's coming off a quadricep injury. Like, so if you're getting what you're getting out of, injuries, players being out, players maybe playing at half of their capacity, like whatever, take all these factors in and the midfield's still not your problem. That's a good sign. So.
Yes, I would stipulate to that. And by the way, a note from Mike Conti, we now know the man in the middle for the match against NYC on Saturday. We know that Kyle Atkins is your VAR. And the man in the middle for the Pigeons and the Five Stripes. However, Philip Dujic.
Yes.
The man in the middle.
I hope we get another one.
Oh, man.
That's my favorite.
Oh, that is just that's out there. So Philip Dujic, the man in the middle at Mercedes-Benz on Saturday for Atlanta United and NYC. If you would please, sir, cut the promo for me. Let me know what else is going on at Scarves and Spikes and what you guys have going on.
Yeah, we'll be there 7:00 tonight. We'll do the live show. We'll be talking about the Dyla Derby that's coming up.
Oh, very nice. Yes, very nice.
And we will have Tyler Terran's opposite, Kendra De St. Alban, is going to be on with us.
Okay.
So, she'll be joining live from taking her daughter to soccer practice like she did last year with us, which was
there
fun.
You go.
So, but yeah, no. So we'll have a good show, and then I'm actually not going to be there this weekend. I'll be keeping an eye on the game, but I won't be at the Benz. But yeah, we'll be doing our normal coverage. We'll have things coming out. And then check out the website. Website's got some good stuff on it.
Yes, what he said. Yes, I will have another excused absence as well on Saturday because the boss bought an anniversary present that requires my presence.
Oh.
So, because if you buy an anniversary gift and only one of you shows up, that's not really good form.
That tends to not work out so well.
So yes, we are going to have we're going to have date night on Saturday for anniversary because this particular event was scheduled before the MLS schedule came out. And so this is like non-negotiable. Here's where it is. It's an anniversary present. And so we're gonna have that on Saturday. So I will be doing this as well. At the venue, kind of keeping an eye on things as we go. But as always, my friend, it's always great to see you. Great to spend the midweek with you and all the variety of co-hosts that you have at the studio to Pilgrim.
Yeah,
and
come in and get her 2 cents in.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I mean, she knows that it was bad news with Tristan. So no, it's good. We get that kind of insight from the Casa de Pilgrim. It's always good. Good to see you, my friend. We'll catch up soon. You can crash at any time.
Appreciate it, man.
There he goes. And so that's Tyler. Tyler's going to go get hydrated, have his coffee. He's going to go do his thing. And he's probably going to go racing out to the driveway and sit there and wave at folks on the way out. It's like, yeah, we're good to see you. Thanks for coming into the studio. And I'm going to, do my thing. So Kefsi's been in, and once again, Kefsi had an excellent point as well involving youngins. Oh, okay. All right. So Tyler has done a public service, and now he has shared the varsity kit. See? That is fantastic. That is fantastic. Go to ATL Pilgrim on the 280-character app. Oh, good Lord. It's a creamsicle kit. Well, it's a frosted orange kit. Who am I kidding? But no, that looks – the numbers are a little dicey because they look like some of them are upside down. But no, that if they did that for a warm-up jersey, they could charge like $9,000 and people would get that. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, my God, that's great. Kefsi bringing in the point about everybody else that is also getting minutes. Also the point with Kefsi once again for the U20s. Luke Brennan, Noah Cobb, DCQ, all getting minutes with the U.S. U20 national teams and the U18s as well. But, yeah, DCQ getting minutes, Noah Cobb getting minutes, got starts. Luke Brennan got a start, and I think he got a goal in the tournament early on less than a week ago. So, yeah, Luke Brennan, Noah Cobb, DCQ all getting minutes for the U's, U18s and U20s. So that's also definitely a part of it. Will would buy the varsity and make the burgers bigger. And what you want to do, you want to keep them the same so people buy more burgers. Maybe offer 4-packs and 6-packs or something like that. That's maybe what you do something like that. But no consensus when it comes to Bart. And recent matches played 45 against Gibraltar and had a yellow. But that's the thing. I think that you look at someone like Bartek Slish, and you're seeing. Yeah, you're seeing a more physical side. He's not afraid to mix it up, not afraid to get in the piles, not afraid to sit there and let everybody know what he's thinking. Also, the Choo Choo Derby in the Open Cup, April 2nd. Yes. The back and forth there, we mentioned Chattanooga FC. The fact that they're playing Red Wolves at Fort Finley in the next round of the Open Cup, as we mentioned with Kaylor Hodges yesterday, that will be an adventure, an absolute adventure. Chattanooga FC, Chattanooga Red Wolves, next round of Open Cup. You want to talk about dividing the section of the southeastern United States? You get that divided. All right, hour number 2. And it's time to bring in our traditional hour number 2 person, Dylan Butler, hanging out with us at MLSsoccer.com. And Dylan is lighted. You've got lights on in your set. Sound. I need to hear you.
Sorry, it's literally just the sun. It's just natural lighting.
Oh, literal? Oh, okay. I thought that you.
No, I didn't bring in the special. No.
Okay, I didn't know if you had a key light or a fill or anything. You had a key over there in the studio to Butler, but no, that's natural lighting. Serious,
natural lighting.
Far out. Okay. Well, now that you are naturally lighted,
yeah.
Coming up, and I'm not gonna waste any time.
All right.
It's going to be NYC coming down here to take on Atlanta United next time around, and NYC away from home, and I guess I can include both venues since they've played at both Yankee Stadium and at other places, not named Yankee Stadium this year for home matches. They score at home, but they don't score on the road. Is it just as easy as sitting there and saying, okay, it's it's roadies and things like that, and it's always tougher on the road, or is there something to it where there's a hiccup in the system someplace and they've got to reboot the engine? What's going on, do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, look, they went to Columbus, right, last week, and they were under pressure for so much of the game. So credit to them to get not only a point on the road, but also a clean sheet, which I think it was their first one in 15 matches. So Not that I need to tell Atlanta folks about how important clean sheets are, because they've also obviously been conceding goals. But yeah, listen, I don't, I think it's based on the match, and I think that they will, I would suspect again be put under pressure by Atlanta. I think it's the Ronnie Dyla, derby, if you
Yes.
will.
The Dyla Derby,
That should be
yes.
fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like too, just from I don't know. I mean, you're ground floor of this, but I guess some mixed reactions to his Atlanta start, I guess.
Well, and I think a lot of it has to do with the pressure of expectation.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with that, where you're going, okay, we know what you've done. We know that the front office has spent all of the dinero that they have and bringing in all of this talent. You drop 22 on Latte Lot, and he's tied for third in MLS in scoring. But then you have all of the other DPs that you're spending money on. You bring in Mateus Click, DC United got fleeced because they had to. They had no choice in the matter. Literally, the way that I've phrased it is Atlanta United went to DC and was like, well, we got a pack of Marlboro Reds. We have some zingers, and we've got some big league chew. And the front office for DC was like, yeah, okay, because they were over the financial barrel and pretty much had to take the sofa pizza that was being offered by Atlanta United's front office to take Mateus Click off their hands, and they're still responsible for all of that, for most of the salary for Mateus Click. And so the expectations of, oh, okay, you're bringing in Mateus Click from DC. We know what he's done in the past. Oh, Latte Lot. We've seen all the highlight videos and the huddle tapes of what he did at Middlesbrough. All of this money that's been spent in bringing folks in, Garth Lagerwey now and Chris Henderson, okay, it's their club. We see what you're doing. This is yours. You're putting your stamp on it. So that pressure of expectation in adding in all of these pieces, I think that's got to be a big part of this. It's like, all right, this is your club. We see what you're doing. All right, now it's time to boogie. And so, the idea of Ronnie Dyla coming in as new head coach, he has a philosophy. And I understand the impatience, but at the same time, I would sit here and go, it's got to have time to cook in game state. It can't just be, and this is what Dyla has said, it's like they've known each other for like 2 weeks. I mean, 2 months.
Yeah.
Been together for 2 months, trying to institute a system and a 4-2-3-1, which we really have never seen before formationally out of the blocks, when the whistle blows. So all of these new things that have to come together, combined with the pressure of expectation, I think is where you're coming from here.
Yeah, I think they're in a better, even though the results haven't been what fans would want early on. I think just a little bit of patience for folks in Atlanta. I think considering the roster and the investment made, and I liked. We talked about this before. I've liked Ronnie Dyla as when he was a coach at NYCFC. So, I think I think there's 30 clubs in MLS. I think there's probably maybe half of those teams at least that kind of wish they had Atlanta's problems right now.
What is your best Ronnie Dyla story from his time up at NYC to describe the kind of individual that he is and the kind of coach he is and what he demands from his players?
Yeah, I'm going to be fair with you. Like, so that was at the tail end of of where I would be like going regularly to the training and be out at their complex every week. But if you remember, like that was right at the start of COVID. So I went to, they had a preseason thing in the city, like a media day where I got to kind of hang out and talk with them. I thought he was a really good dude. They played a Champions League at the time match at Red Bull Arena, And that's when everyone was like looking at text like, wait, Tom Hanks, what COVID, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then the world shut down. So after that, it was just everything was virtual, everything was Zooms. So, he was unfortunately, and I felt so bad for him, right? Because he had just moved here. He was living, he and his wife and child, they were living over in, I think they were in Hoboken, across the river. And he's like, oh, I can't wait. It's going to be great. New York City. And then everything shuts down. So I felt bad for him in that sense, and then obviously, it took so long for things to open up again, but he was like I said, unfortunately, I Vieira and Christ before him and, Dome, like I had more of a personal relationship with them face to face, like in person than Ronnie, just because of, a global pandemic.
Yeah, it's a little thing called a global
Yeah.
pandemic. So from your interactions, virtual and otherwise, how was he different from the predecessors there in dealing with Dome and Jason Christ and Patrick Vieira? How was he different, and how long did it take everybody, do you think, up there in the tri-state to get adjusted to who Ronnie is, how he wanted to present things, and philosophically, what was the level of patience from what you could gather?
Well, I mean, one thing I did like about him is his honesty. Like right away, he didn't pull punches with his players. So if there was something he was upset about, or a certain player he was upset about, a certain way they were playing, he called it out straight away. Like it wasn't, he wasn't concerned about egos and situations. Like, he was he held everybody accountable for sure. So, but also like, in a different way, like he was, they all had their own things. Like, Vieira was, just like that kind of, for lack of a better word, like that, sophisticate, European, like, just, we went out to, some French restaurant, I think in Manhattan after one of the seasons. He had some of the reporters out and stuff, and
Oh,
yeah, it was funny because like they brought over food. He's like, no, you know what? Do you can make this, right? And the guy's like, yeah, of course, yeah. It's like, we're gonna have that. You guys are gonna try this. You're gonna like it. So, and then you hear the stories like when he left, buying staff like, watches and things like that. Like just a different kind of guy. Dome was drinking wine and listening to jazz, going to jazz clubs in the city kind of guy. And Ronnie, like he seemed like that guy that you'd probably really have enjoy a couple beers with, right? Like but again, didn't have that opportunity. But you got the sense that the players definitely enjoyed playing for him. I think they also enjoyed his honesty as well, right? Like when you're a straight shooter, like exactly where you are, where things stand. You're not worried about different messaging. He was pretty straightforward with all of that.
and that was the phrase that popped into my head when you were breaking all of this down, was straight shooter.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear him in his press conference opportunities discuss, okay, we need to be open and honest. And at the end of the day, if there are things that have gone wrong in a match, he's going to be the first person to stand up and sit there and say, okay, then I need to look at me as well, because it starts with me, and I need to look at me and how, just as much as looking at the players and how things were implemented, it starts with me, and I've got to look at myself here. I thought that was refreshing as well.
100%. I agree with that.
How rare is that these days, where you have managers, coaches, whatever, sit there and say, first and foremost, out of the blocks, all right, it's Harry Truman. Buck stops here, and it's on my desk, and if something's wrong, I'm going to openly sit here and say it starts with me, and that's where we got to look. You know, you don't see a whole lot of folks.
Yeah, you do hear that phrase, but it's almost like a tongue in cheek way they say it. You know, like I think back to, you know, maybe some like Caleb Porter talk where, you know, he'll say, you know, I guess I've got to do better, or, you know, where he's not like straight up saying, yes, you know, the buck stops at me. It's like, you know, so you hear a roundabout way of some managers or coaches saying that, yeah, I have to coach better, you know, like it's on me. Like ultimately it's, you know, it's what's the other cliche? It's a results based business, right?
Result driven business.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's $1 in the jar if ever there was. I mean, all the literally, if you reference yourself in third person, it's a $5. If a reporter does the how does it feel without acknowledging that you're doing that you're asking the how does it feel question out of the blocks, in you know, because I literally will sit there and say, I know it's $1 in the jar by asking this, but how does it feel to do blank? And so because I know instead, or you know, talk to me about this. Well, no, I don't want it. I'm just waiting for that. Like Nick Saban as a coach, I would have wondered that one day. Well, coach, talk to me about. Well, no, I don't want it. I'm just waiting for that.
That phrase, by the way, I never ever say, "Talk to me about." There's a good friend of mine who is like a legend in high school sports broadcasting up here, Mike Quick, and that was he teaches broadcast journalism, and that's like his biggest pet peeve. Like, don't ever ask the question with "talk to me about." Like, you just don't do it. So like when you say that, like it's like fingers on a chalkboard. I can hear him.
It is. When we look back at the week that was, how many more questions have been added to your dossier of questions so far, and has anything been reinforced coming out of the week? Because we haven't talked about what happened in Montreal with what happened with Laurent Courtois. I went on a bit of a rant about it yesterday.
Was it in French?
I wish. I mean, if there was a French translator available to us here at the network, I probably would have welcomed it. But you look at what's going on with Courtois, and everybody, I think, is pointing their finger once again at Joey Saputo, who is turning into George Steinbrenner if he hadn't already been George Steinbrenner. And
when is he just going to go ahead and take over? Like, I mean, to coach.
Well, who's going to want that gig? Because of what we continually see out of CF Montreal, and more specifically Joey Saputo, about managers and things. It's like literally when you win your 12th match, that's when he grows tired of you, and then you're gone. Who in their right mind is going to go and coach at CF Montreal that isn't already on the staff, that wasn't let go when Laurent Courtois was let go, to go 0-5 out of the blocks? Kefsey, you are not wrong. Yeah, Kefsey, busting out the French, not wrong. I mean, I'm not going to repeat it, but for those on the video side, it would have earned us our explicit rating, I'm sure. But who's going to want that gig? You're 0-5, your first 7 are on the road because you can't play at the Big O because the umbrella's busted. And you'd either have to bring in grass or you'd have to play on that 1970s welcome mat imported from Riverfront or Three Rivers Stadium. And you're on the road, you're 0-5, you run out of gas in the 50-something minute, and you get thumped. You're 0-5, you get impatient, you fire your manager. Who wants that gig? Who?
I don't know, but it's unfortunate because it's such a great city, right? It's one of my favorite road cities in MLS.
Great crowd. Stade Saputo, traditionally a really tough place to play.
Yeah. You have that kind of club partnership with Bologna in Italy, so you can get some loans there.
Yeah, so you figured that cross relationship, that was the easy part with Bologna, is like, okay, I'm going to loan you to Bologna, or I'm going to grab somebody from Bologna. I mean, it's a multi-club model. I get it. Yeah, that's going to be there.
But you're right. It's the owner that.
How much ish are you willing to put up with as a coach, knowing at the end of the day what you may want, you're not going to have happen because of the folks looking over your shoulder, the dude looking over your shoulder?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's the MLS assistant, I guess, that wants to get head coaching, take that next step into head coaching, I suppose, maybe, or, a guy that coaches youth or academy or second division, like somewhere else that wants to, but you're right.
You had Thierry Henry, you had Wilfred Nancy. And you scared both of them. Well, you didn't scare them away. They basically were just like, yeah, I'm out, fam. I ain't playing with this. And it's just, I mean, to your point, it's going to have to be someone who is going to sit there and see the opportunity for what it is. Look at the brass ring and go, yeah, I want a head coaching gig on my resume. I can put up with all the ish. So you're going to have a strong personality going in. And you're going to have to win the presser, have a strong personality, know that you're going to have to put up with the owner who's going to be constantly chirping in your ear. He probably goes to the same ownership classes as Jerry Jones and what George Steinbrenner did. It's like, it's just, to me, it is a great city. It is a great football town, but you have to put up with the ish of this owner. And I said this yesterday, and I will remind folks again. You have 2 more matches on the road, and it is Chicago, and it is, oh gosh, who's the other one? Hang on. But what I said was, if CF Montreal wins either of those 2 matchups, then I will drink Diet Mountain Dew on the air.
It's Columbus is the other one.
Columbus, thank you. So it's Chicago and Columbus. If you get full points in either one of those matches to avoid going your first 7 without a win, I will drink Diet Mountain Dew on the air. And people know how repulsed I am at Diet Mountain Dew.
I mean, considering the clubs there, I think you're in good shape.
Well, from your lips. I mean, it's just, from your lips to on high, but it's just, and you probably could, barring something unforeseen, when you get that run of home matches, when you're back in your building because of the snowfall that is finally being pushed off to the side and maybe dumped inside the Big O because nothing else can go on in there. You're writing the season off, I would think, after the first 7 matches, I would say. Wouldn't you? Are you done? Or because there are 9, you look for 9 and you figure out what the difference is?
I know. I mean, it's a good argument. Again, whenever there's teams that are trying to climb up from the bottom, I always try to ask the follow-up question, which is then who's dropping down? Mm-hmm. And you're not seeing that. You're seeing improvement from teams that have been around that same area. Chicago has made improvements this year. Charlotte appears to be taking that next step forward as well, right? Into probably the upper tier of the East. We've talked about Atlanta before. They're going to be better. The 2 New Yorks are going to be good. Cincinnati, once they get, their any center back, they're going to be better. To move up, someone has to drop down, and I don't see anyone else. It looks like it's the Canadians right now combined. There's, Montreal and Toronto that are destined to be well below that table.
Oh, well, and then Toronto. Since we're talking about Canada, I think Vancouver to me is the stunner of the 3. And for the good reason that they came out of the blocks. You dispose of Vanni Sartini, which to me was a shock. And I think Vanny's, just chilling right now, staring at the boats going up and down the Western Seaboard. And you bring in a manager, and everybody's like, "Oh, I don't know about this," but your offense didn't change, and he hasn't messed things up yet. So Vancouver to me was the shock out west. But in the East, Toronto, where you had fans who were expletive deleted referencing Insigne. You put him in the lineup, and then you end up getting some offense. But Robin Fraser is in just as tough a situation, if not tougher, just because of the mishmash of a mess that is there in Toronto FC. One of the good guys in the league, and he's stuck too.
Yes, he certainly is. And it's through no fault of his own. Just it's the cards that he was dealt, right? Like it was, they were so top heavy on their roster, with multiple year deals that yeah, it's hard to kind of climb out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that you look at it and you're going, man, you've got all this, you have some talent here, there's some firepower, but it's like, I don't know. It's like trying to make a Dagwood sandwich with everything that you've got in the fridge that you're trying to make sure that you use before the expiration dates all sit there and unify on you. And you sit there and you have the sandwich and you take the first bite of the Dagwood and you're like, what did I do here? That's what that looks like to me. It looks like a Dagwood sandwich with an expiration date that just passed. That's Toronto for me. Who else is on your ish list right now when it comes when it comes to issues, the issues in the ish list for you coming out of week number 5?
Coming out of the week, well, New England didn't play, so they didn't lose.
True. And the NWSL franchise has a new name, by the way. That came out this morning.
I didn't see that. What is
Boston Legacy FC?
The Legacy. Oh, FC, of course.
Boston Legacy FC. So they are no longer Boss Nation. They are now a Boston Legacy.
Okay.
And I mean, San Jose, we kind of knew what we were getting. I think you're going to score a lot You're going to score a lot of goals, or you're going to give up a lot of goals. We've seen both sides of that so far with Bruce Arena.
It seemed like that shine maybe came off them a little bit, right? Like it was.
Yeah.
It came out. It was like it was early, and people were like,
"Woo!
Hang on, like who have they played?
And what do they do on the road?"
Yeah, and now it's a little bit more back to reality, it seems like, for them.
Yes, just a bit. But no, I think that if you're for fantasy, I think you go for their offensive players and you don't touch their defensive players. I think that's the big thing here.
Yeah.
What else is going on with you and MLSsoccer.com and bylines and things that we all need to know about?
Yeah, no, more of the same for MLS. We're going to have CCC coming up right around the corner.
CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, yes.
So that'll probably – actually, I think I'm not on for those, which is a positive because I think they're like super late starts.
Okay.
In the midweek.
I'm right there with you. Okay.
Yeah. So and actually, it's funny. I was telling my wife this is not involving anything of significance here, but
well, this is a morning show, so you're all good.
Yeah. So as you know, I'm a big Rangers fan, and it has not been a good season for them. So they play last night in LA, right? 10:30 Eastern start.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm driving home. I had my first lacrosse broadcast of the year of the spring last night, Manhasset and Shoreham Wading River. So I'm driving home, listening to the first period of the game, and I get home, and like my wife's a big Islander fan. She'll stay up for those West Coast games.
Sorry about that.
Not me though. I'm like, all right, time for bed. So I wake up this morning. I'm like, oh, let's see how they did. They lost 3-1, and it's almost like you're like, well, thank God I didn't see that, right? Like, I'm happy I missed that one. Like, I got to sleep, which was good.
Well, as always, my friend, it's great to see you, and do not be a stranger. Come back. We'll be back next time, and we'll talk. Well, I want to talk Sam Rosen. I want to have a Sam Rosen discussion with you at some point. We got to talk about the greatest. So
it's a power play goal.
Yes, with you, and we'll discuss stuff about great play-by-play voices. So, my friend, you can crash it anytime. It's great to see you, and go get hydrated and enjoy your natural lighting there in the studio space.
Yeah. Cheers.
All right. See, what's the mug? Oh, St. John.
Oh, St. John's.
Yeah. We got to get into that. We'll get into Patino too. Enjoy your caffeine. We'll see you soon.
All right, see it.
All right, that's tag out. All right, now in the biz, we always talk about the hot tag. You know, there's always the face in peril that's getting beaten up in the corner, and he finds a way to sit there and duck under all of the right hands, and he finally gets the somersault, and he makes the big dive, and he gets the tag, and you get the fresh face, you get the fresh energy coming in. Rock and Roll Express used to have that a lot. So Dylan has tagged out, and for the triumphant return, I don't have trumpets. I don't have a trumpet fanfare, but it has been quite some time since this show is being brought to us by the letters Tyler, that Tyler Terrens has been on the program. And so now what we do is we tag in and go, hot tag Tyler. It has been entirely too long, my friend. Great to see you. Welcome back to the morning show.
I can't even remember the last time that I was on the show with you, but I'm glad to be here. I'm pumped to talk some soccer, and I'm pumped to come back to the ATL and to the Benz.
No doubt about it. So, like I said, it has been entirely too long, and what I have told the powers that are with the league, it's like, look, anybody that we invite in, they now have that studio link. So if they're bored in a hotel room on Friday, because literally from Friday, our 10 o'clock hour on Friday is Mass Hysteria, where we preview everything. And so literally now that you have the golden key to come in and hang out at any time, literally if you're in a hotel room bored out of your mind in the 10 o'clock hour, you can come in, say your piece, duck out, and there's no repercussion. Literally, it's like, oh, Tyler came in, he said something. It's like, I'm out. Then you leave. So then you do the Irish goodbye. So that's all good. So you now have the golden key, so you can come in at any time.
I love it. And I'll tell you what, you must be reading my mind, or at least you've been talking to too many MLS season pass people, because getting bored Friday in the hotel room is way too much of an occurrence recently. But no, I love it. And I certainly am going to take you up on that, because I love just being able to pop in on these sorts of shows and really dig your show. And I'm certainly going to take you up on it.
Excellent, sir. we thank you for that. All right. So, since this is your first time here this season, let me go and we'll talk the GBU, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the different. So what so far for you in this season classifies itself as the good, the bad, the ugly? And I was talking with Dylan Butler from MLSsoccer.com, and the ugly already is in Montreal. And the difference. So take the GBUD and address, if you would, please, sir. What is sticking in your mind after the first month of match days?
So the good, I mean, I think that you immediately gravitate towards one team in the East, one team in the West. That's Bradley Carnell and the Philadelphia Union. I don't think anybody really thought much of this group and sort of what he was going to be able to do with them. But if we know two things about Bradley Carnell, he's going to bring a lot of energy, and he's able to operate on a tight budget. And that's what you need in order to succeed in Philadelphia. And then obviously the Vancouver Whitecaps. And I was fortunate enough to be on the call for their second leg win on the road, quote unquote, in a different stadium, because Monterrey got pushed out of their own stadium for a Shakira concert. And Jesper Sorensen hits do not lie. Okay, this guy is a pleasure to talk to. He used to work in the media, and he clearly has this team cooking in some type of way. And we're able to, get a result before the Chicago loss with some guys injured, and they've been really, really fun to watch. So those are the two good. The bad, I would say, is a team like Toronto. I would say a team like, I don't know, the Portland Timbers, even though they just picked up a win over the weekend, and sort of trying to figure out exactly what they are. And then, as you mentioned, the ugly, I think two Canadian sides, CF Montreal and then Toronto as well. I saw Toronto on the road against FC Cincinnati. That was one of the worst Major League Soccer sides I've seen rolled out in a long, long time. And to be fair to Montreal, I actually think that everything that's gone on so far this year is no fault of Laurent Courtois, is no fault of the players. To not invest in a DP transfer since 2014 is put out by our good friend Tommy Scoops, Tom Bogert over at Give Me Sport. That is truly the ugly. And God bless all of the coaches who have come through. And that's 12 coaches now going to be in 14 years of Montreal's existence. They are quite literally doing the Lord's work. To be able to, take the job and say yes, and know that you're probably going to get fired within 18 months, regardless of what your results look like, unless you're Wilfred Nancy. I don't know who would say yes to that job at this point, because it's a death sentence.
I think you, like I said, you get to 12 wins, no matter how many matches it takes to get you to 12 wins. That seems to be the marker for Joey Saputo, which is MLS's version of Watford. literally, that's what popped into my head. It's like, you're Watford. I get it now. And you used to be Wolves, but it's Watford.
Yeah.
And it's mind blowing to me because it's a great city. It's a great soccer town. It's a great football town. And Stade Saputo, when it's rocking, is a difficult place to play.
Yep.
But now, and this has been part of the discussion we had yesterday when it was announced, and when Tom Bogert came on, the birthday boy, and he announced it, and we looked at it on social media and everything. Who's going to take that gig? Look, you had Wilfred Nancy and you had Thierry Henry. You had them as managers. Now you who's going to take that gig?
But to be fair, Thierry Henry left because of personal reasons, and it was during COVID and a strange time in the world, and we're not going to fault him for that. And then Wilfred Nancy certainly saw the writing on the wall that's painted with Joey Saputo, whatever on it, and he ends up taking a great job in Columbus and has the backing and the resources, and that's a huge step up, even though it's in our own league.
Yeah.
Now you're left with this crazy situation, and you look up and down the roster, and they're like, Prince Owusu, a guy who wasn't even supposed to start in Toronto, is your big off-season get? What are we talking about here? I was talking to the French commentators for MLS Season Pass, Frederick Lord and Vincent Detouche, and Vincent actually wrote a book. It's only in French, unfortunately, on CF Montreal and the history of the club. And chatting with him, it's just that's the team that they quote unquote, follow around, at least from a commentary standpoint. And it's just destitute. It's just truly unbelievable to look at the lack of resources and the lack of investment from the club. And I'm not even talking about, John, I'm not even talking about just money, but just flat out, knowing what it takes to be a good sports owner. Yeah. And I've seen plenty of owners in this league who have been too patient and don't get rid of the sporting director and don't get rid of the coach and don't do the right thing. But this is just it's too much, man. And Vancouver deserves to stay in Vancouver, and they deserve to have an owner who's going to want to be in charge of that club and whatever they're going to sell for. And I hope that they stay at BC Place, and I hope they stay in British Columbia. Or maybe they can get their own stadium. BC Place is a different story. But for Montreal, you're just blow the whole thing up, man. This is crazy at this point.
Literally, you look at Montreal, sadly, and you go, bruh. Literally, that is the poster child of bruh right now when you're looking at what's going on. All right, part of the reason that we have you here is to discuss what's going on with Atlanta United, since we are based here, even though we are, we look at ourselves as national content. But when you look at Atlanta United, the investment, this is Garth's and Chris's club. They brought in Ronnie Dyla. What did you think about the offseason changes as you have a team trying to understand what Ronnie Dyla wants them to do in game state on a weekly basis?
I'm still trying to figure it out. When I saw the headlines coming across and everything like that, I sort of was okay, I don't want to say this makes sense, but you're putting some good pieces and some successful pieces in Major League Soccer into place for what should be a banner year for Atlanta United, or at least on paper, whatever that means. The Ronnie Dyla hire itself, I found to be interesting, not because he's not a good coach, but just because of where he's been and sort of his steps going to Standard Liège, maybe not necessarily having the success that he wanted to, and then taking the other job and now coming back to Major League Soccer. And I was just sort of I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in the conversations and the people who interviewed for that job, and then how they came to the conclusion on Ronnie Dyla to be the best person to put in charge of this project at this point in time with the club. Anything Garth touches typically turns to gold. So I'm never going to question arguably the godfather of the front offices in Major League Soccer. And still so much to sort out in terms of what this team is actually going to look like. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But it wasn't a head scratcher necessarily. It was just I would have loved to hear the conversations, and Ronnie Dyla, I was a huge fan of the football that NYCFC was playing, and and keep in mind that was a group that hadn't gotten past the conference semifinals in 5 straight years, and then he brings them to an MLS Cup and wins against a good Portland side on the road, and we'll never forget the late goal and the whole thing. But just very, very interesting hire and very interesting makeup of this group, and in terms of previous MLS success.
You add Latte Lot coming in from Middlesbrough for 20 plus. You add that to the mix where you have an Alexei Miranchuk, you've got Sabalob Janidze, you bring in a Mateus Click, and like I said, I made the joke earlier in the show that basically you go to DC United and it's I got a pack of Marlboro Reds as zingers and a packet of Big League Chew, and DC's okay, and that's what you end up, and they still have to pay most of Mateus Klick's work.
Yeah.
You're getting a lot of pieces assembled, once again, mixing with what you got from the academy and all of the younger players that are here. And they're hitting on some pieces, and I think that there's a lot of intrigue about, okay, how long is it going to take for all this stuff, when healthy, to get together, and then what's it going to look like? And the anticipation there is obviously huge.
It's huge, and I think that probably the frustrating thing for Atlanta United fans is going to be there's no date on this, on when it's going to come good and if it's going to come good. I don't think that it's an if. I do think it's a when. And Kindred D. St. Aubin and I, my broadcast partner, were having this conversation in the middle of the Sporting Kansas City LAFC game, because Sporting obviously are off to a bad start. I would throw them into the bad category as well. And I love Peter Vermees. He's always great with us, and I do wish that club success, because I think it's an important club in Major League Soccer. But we were talking about how, like, when do you really start to look at the sample size, and at what point during the season do you say, okay, this is what this team is all about? And I wanted to say probably week 10, but Sporting Kansas City was a good example of how you can't do that, because 2 years ago they went winless in their first 10, and then they end up being the best side of Major League Soccer from May 4th until the end of the season, knocking off St. Louis in the postseason. So for Atlanta, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I was like thinking about it today while I was cooking breakfast. I was like, Miguel Almiron, why hasn't it looked like it should for Miggy? Playing on turf. Getting used to playing on turf again. I mean, and I'm not saying that my men's league in Cincinnati is any comparison to Major League Soccer, but I was playing it. It's not. Breaking news. It's just not. But we do have a plus 14 goal differential through our first 2 games.
Excellent.
Shout out to Real Sociedad's in Cincinnati. But like playing on turf comparatively to playing on whatever surface you're going to play on in the Premier League, I think that that's something he's going to have to readjust to. I think that the front line and the front four in particular, because you invested so much money in it, Atlanta fans are going to be impatient, to say the least, if it's not going to come good in the first several weeks. But I do think that that's going to come good at some point in time. When, I have no idea. But like being patient with that, getting Brooks Lennon healthy, because I do think that, I mean, like, look at the goals that Latte Lotta is scoring. Like, Brooks Lennon is one of the best deliverers of the ball in Major League Soccer, like maybe a step below Julian Gressel. But you just got to give him time. You got to give everybody time to figure it out. And like, John, for the life of me, this international window in March, like five weeks into the season, like just, oh God, I'm so sick of it. And it's just so I don't get in trouble. Greg Berhalter is the one who's, was going on record and saying it, just like, why are we playing in this international window?
He said it.
He said it. I didn't. I'm just sticking with Triple G here. But it's just like what a frustrating 2 weeks, because we have no idea what the player availability is going to be for those guys who are coming from CONMEBOL, who are coming from all over the place.
AFCON.
And it's an AFCON. 2 weeks without some of your best players and getting punished for having international, like, just miss me with that whole thing. I'm sorry, but it's tired.
Well, yeah. And to your point about Miguel Almiron, there's always the self-imposed pressure of returning and being the idea of the prodigal son, where he's someone who is as loved and as admired as he was in round number 1. He goes to Newcastle, has all the success, wants to come back, and there's always that pressure on the inside about, okay, I'm back. I have to perform. I have to produce here. And I think that, to your point about playing on turf, is part of it as well. But I think that just that self-imposed pressure that the Real Sociedads have as well, try to keep that goal difference up. I'm sure that the pressure is there, and it gives him his own little bit of agita that he's got to work past.
I couldn't agree more. And I don't know if that's necessarily an excuse, but more so just a reality. And I think for Miggy, he left in such a strange time in terms of like the transition of Major League Soccer. And like, he's been gone for 4 or 5 years. Like, Major League Soccer has evolved into another era since he's left. So I think that getting used to a slightly higher level of play, getting used to the turf. And I see the comments in the chat that like Atlanta's turf isn't like anybody else's turf, but no turf is like actual real grass every single weekend in the Premier League. So I get that, but I'm with you. I think that there's a level of that. And right now, what do you guys have? 2 goal scorers in Edwin Mosquera and Latte Lot. Like, nobody else has scored a goal up until this point. So you got to get everybody clicking on and get the confidence, right? Because there is so much expectation behind this team. There has been a historic amount of money invested into this front line. Of course, that's going to come with pressure, particularly in a league where it's meant to try to sort of bring you back down to reality where you're not able to invest in other parts. But Atlanta have clearly done such a good job, and Garth, put his magic wand on this whole thing. So I only think it's a matter of time. I really do.
I just have this vision now of him with the top hat sitting there, and he's
yes,
the wand over the top, and he taps the hat. To your point about Sporting Kansas City, how does and I've had this conversation on the show before, where how does Peter Vermes have a conversation with Peter Vermes about Peter Vermes? Is it in a room with two chairs, kind of like Judge Smales and Danny Noonan, where he's in both roles?
It's something along those lines.
Peter, we need to have a talk. What about?
Yeah,
I think, Peter, we need to have a talk about you. And he just runs from one seat to the other to have the conversation. That's the only thing I can figure, man.
Well, there's one more voice in the room now, and that is Mike Burns, who theoretically is the sporting director. I'm not exactly sure what the hierarchy looks like of if Mike technically answers to Peter, or if they're on the same playing field and they both answer to the ownership group. I have no earthly idea.
Ty Webb behind the bar, basically. It's like that.
I need
to have a talk with you, and it's like, Judge,
let's do it. Yeah,
over here.
What I do know is that they haven't won since mid-September. Mm-hmm. What I do know is that Children's Mercy Park is not nearly as full as it should be. What I do know is that there's groans from the crowd when they are running through the same pattern of play over and over and over again and not able to break down back lines. What I do know is that this group should be playing better. And I'm not just saying because of the money that they invested in. And if we're going to go with the same logic of Atlanta United, I'm going to go with the same logic of Sporting, that it is going to need some time. And I would have to imagine that Peter Vermes has not been given a long leash, but at least there is a leash, right? Because you can't invest the most amount of money you've invested in the club since 2020 and then get rid of him at the first sign of danger. It was going to take a little bit. But again, Kindred and I were having this conversation. Does he change formations? Does he mix it up a little bit in terms of their approach? Do they really need to have the ball 72% of the time against LAFC, a team that you knew was going to sit in and just try to hit you on the counter? Probably not, because you could have played 180 minutes of that game and you weren't going to score. It was just one of those nights. So that one's a head scratcher for me in terms of how long that ownership group is going to wait to potentially fire a guy who's been there for 17 years. And not for nothing, John, but he just made his 700th appearance either as a coach or a player. He is an institution within that club, and to get rid of him is a delicate matter. And I hate to say that, and I know that I'm a big Liverpool fan, and a lot of fans will sometimes get upset at the fact that we don't treat legends the right way at Liverpool, but they clearly are doing the right thing in terms of setting themselves up for success with the future of the club. And now with Sporting Kansas City and how embedded he's been, not only from a coach, sporting director, minister of culture, whatever you want to call him over there, it's a delicate matter if you are going to move on from him, because he has been Sporting Kansas City for so long.
He is the minister of Quan at Sporting Kansas City, by the way. All right, so I'll ask Trent Alexander-Arnold to Real Madrid. What's your gut?
Oh, he's gone.
What do you think now that he is out the door? And Arne Slot has proven that he's okay. He's all right in the Premier League. But losing Trent Alexander-Arnold, what does that do to your starting 11 per se? Or are you just going to throw more money at a problem, bring somebody in?
No, I think that you start Connor Bradley. You obviously need some depth because Joe Gomez can't stay healthy for the life of him. And as long as we don't lose Verge, I'm even okay losing Mo at this point in time. And
really?
I think not okay with it. I've come to terms with it. I've sat with it. I've meditated on it.
You get it.
I've cried over it. Yeah, I've grieved the loss of Mohamed Salah already in my head. Sort of like Roman from Succession. I think that I've pre-grieved, but I'm probably going to be a mess on the day that his transfer is announced. But anyway, yeah, Trent, we can live without, right? I do think that from a set piece and that big diagonal ball, which has become such a big thing of Liverpool's and the metrics behind that, but we need to keep Verge. I consistently think that Verge is the most important player, not maybe necessarily the best player on Liverpool, but the most important player to what Liverpool are able to do in the Premier League and Champions League.
How underrated is Shelman Kelleher between the sticks?
Underrated, but I was arguing with somebody on SiriusXM the other day. They were like, Kelleher should be the starter for the rest of the season. I was like, don't for a second think that Alisson isn't the best goalkeeper in the world. Yeah. They just happen to have the best number 2 who would start on 2/3 of Premier League teams.
Yeah, and so I think that when you're on a team that is as great as the run that Liverpool is having right now, you're going to have those dudes that when you're called upon, you got to step up, because once again, the expectations there and the foreknowledge is there that we know you're good. So, in the Gummy Bear Cup competition, when we need you, go ahead and do your best, whether it's a second leg where it's a blowout city and you're okay and you just take care of business and everything's cool. I know we're up against it with you. Hit the promo for me. What's going on your planet with you? And by the way, Kendra D. St. Alban, that's all one word last time I checked, right? Yeah,
yes, exactly.
The whole thing.
Yes.
It's not just Kendra or Kendra beat D. St. Alban. Literally, it is one word.
Kendra D. St. Alban. Yes, exactly.
Hit the promo for me. What's going on?
Obviously on the call for Atlanta and NYCFC this weekend. I'm going to be with Kendra D. St. Alban. God bless you. Thank you very much. Gesundheit. And we will be on MLS Season Pass. I've got CONCACAF Champions Cup coming up with Fox Sports 1, second week of April, doing second leg of Monterrey against Cruz Azul. Or not Cruz Azul. God, who am I thinking of? Is it Cruz Azul? I don't know.
It's upper right-hand section of the bracket, right?
Sure, something like that. Yeah, I've got 2 weeks. I got 2 weeks to be able to prep for that. It'll come to me at some point. My brain is still mushed with first round of U.S. Open Cup action and those one-camera shows for Portland Hearts of Pine and such. But no, you can find me at TN Terrans on Twitter and Instagram. I don't post all that much, but if you want to go do it, go ahead. By all means, it's probably going to be dog content at this point in time.
Well, dog content and Monopoly content on the IG, the Grammar, the Insta, or whatever the kids call it these days. But it's a Club America and Cruz Azul.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
In the quarters.
Yep. But anyway, yeah, it's been awesome, John. I appreciate you. I appreciate the show, and I am most certainly when I'm bored Friday night, maybe this Friday when I'm in Atlanta, because my one friend who I was supposed to hang out with, he bailed on me to go to a wedding.
Dude,
I believe that's selfish.
Was it his own or is it someone else?
Somebody he doesn't even care about, and he's just like, I'm going to go to this wedding, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll just hop on John's show again on Friday. So
hey, that's what we're here for. So then we need to get you eating recommendations, I guess.
Yes, please.
Hey, I have listened and seen the broadcasts where you have gotten into discussions about food. So I know that food is a major topic for you.
Yeah. What, you've heard me talk about ice cream nachos before? Is that what you've heard me talk about?
Yes. And then there's also, did you hear about the s'mores nachos in Huntsville?
No.
Huntsville City is unveiling, I think, 1,200 calories worth of s'mores nachos this season in MLS Next Pro. I swear to God, it looked like one of those hot dog eating competitions where you get the 6 foot long hot dog and you got to eat it.
Yeah.
And Kobayashi and Joey Chestnut are like, nah, fam, not happening. and so in Huntsville, no lie, Huntsville City Football Club and MLS Next Pro has s'mores on nachos. I'm frightened.
Interesting.
One or the other, I'm cool. Together, not so much.
But have you had ice cream nachos, or how do you feel about that?
I can have one or the other, but not both.
See, I had the ice cream nachos, and apparently, because I only got to Chicago in 2020 when they moved from SeatGeek to Soldier Field. Supposedly, the ice cream nachos at Soldier Field are far inferior to those at SeatGeek Stadium. I've never had the ones at SeatGeek Stadium before, but I'm like, it's ice cream nachos. You take a bunch of salty tortilla chips and you throw an ice cream sundae on top of it. How much better could it possibly be? I'm just like, I still don't think it's going to taste good. And it's like how I feel about, something. Skyline Chili has actually been kind to me.
I was going to ask, since in Cincinnati, Skyline Chili, yay or nay?
Yeah, yes, I guess. But like, it's deemed as a food.
I can go to Steak and Shake and get it. It's called a chili three-way.
No. See, you're going to get in trouble with stuff like that. I would never say something like that, ever, because people know where I live here. People know where I live here, and I can't just say you can go get it in Steak and Shake. I am pro Skyline Chili. The only time that I've had it and that I enjoyed it was after a few beverages at a Cincinnati Bengals game, watching Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase link up for like 3 touchdowns. I think that's when you're supposed to have it. I'm not going to go and get it for dinner tonight, but sure, it's fun.
I mean, Skyline Chili and some Hudie Delight, and or maybe go to the Sunset Beach Club off of the UC campus and modulate. I don't know.
And meditate on Mohamed Salah potentially leaving Liverpool. Yes.
Correct.
Yes. With a belly full of Skyline Chili.
Oof, man, that's just like 9,000 calories staring right at me, and I would have to actually go out onto. See, my playing days are long gone. Mm-hmm. I'm good at standing on sidelines and ranting and gesticulating and looking like I'm actually saying something of impact.
Are you ranting or are you yelling? Or is that a nice way of saying that you're barking at officials or barking at people who you enjoy watching play?
Yeah, and there's no real rationale behind it. It's just, I'm cutting a heel promo basically on the sideline. Sitting here and just like doing this kind of bit, and the center ref looks at me and is like, bruh, bang, shut up, one of those kind of things. I see. That's how I would be in a situation like that. I could have the skyline, but you'd have to have the Hudie Delight or the whatever, and work it that way.
I feel like I need to plan my whole week around the skyline, like the following 32 to 48 hours after I had that. And I'm not saying it's because of the alcohol, but I had a different gym regimen because I just simply couldn't be put in a position where my body was getting ramped up too much, if you feel what I'm saying. Not to get too graphic. I know this is a family show, but anyway, yeah.
When is this a family show?
When you give off a family patriarchal vibe, you just seem like the guy at the head of the Thanksgiving table who's going to make a nice toast before we all dig in. You're a middler, as Larry David would say. You're somebody who can sit in the middle of the table and chat with everybody. No, is this
I am a sternum poker if ever there was.
Oh boy,
I'm literally the guy that goes like this.
Yeah,
and just because
that could be a good thing.
I'm not going fathead and it's here on the set doesn't mean that I'm a middler.
But I'm not saying you're like Ted Lasso, hunky dory, and everything's filled with rainbow and butterflies. I'm not saying you're that guy, but you bring a lot. You're a glue guy in the locker room. You're going to keep everything together, even if you're going to poke basically everybody at the table.
I'm the glue guy in the locker room that encourages chaos on a morning show.
Sometimes you need that guy.
What happened? I don't know. They went off on a rant. I don't know what happened. I was just there. They started talking. I let them go. That's just how it was.
Yeah. And then the coach asks you, hey, John, can you reel them back in now? I know you did your whole bit, but can you bring them back to planet Earth? No. Oh, no, man.
It's they're on their own, boss. I tried my best, and they went off and they're running. I mean, that's just how it goes. All right, so you need probably barbecue recommendations?
Sure. Whatever you think that I should be going to eat on a Friday night in Atlanta, just give it to me.
Yeah, well then we got to work on that. So okay, tell you what, if you come in and crash on the Friday morning in the 10 o'clock hour, we'll go over this. So you given the audience a couple days to think about it.
Deal.
So you come back in the 10 o'clock hour. Whatever else chaos is there, we'll go over all the other matches. We'll talk Atlanta United, and we'll talk about food choices and how much time you have on the table. You're looking for a good brunch on Saturday before you head to Mercedes-Benz.
Nothing heavy. The day of the game, we can't be doing that, John. And you know why.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
You know why.
Yes,
even though the bathroom in the booth at the Benz is right in the booth, we can't be having those sorts of problems. If it's the Houston Dynamo at Shell Energy Stadium, pal. Okay, now we're talking. That's a horse of a different color. Right?
There's a reason we call it Hell in a Shell, sir.
Oh my goodness. I mean, the empty Gatorade bottles, and now when you have a female broadcast partner, you can't be doing that. When I was working with Devin Kerr, I could potentially get away with that in the sweltering heat of the summer in July after I went for a run for whatever reason, and I drank 17 gallons of water, and it's halftime. I got 3 minutes. I can execute. We can get it done.
Or Devin can cover for you if it's highlights in a full screen.
Sure, and he's acting as sort of like the partition between me and the rest of the universe. Now with a female broadcast partner, and God bless Kindred D. St. Aubin, but we can't be doing this nonsense. So anyway, I don't know how we got here. This is a family show. I apologize.
This whole family show thing that you're talking about, I know not of what you speak, sir.
By the way, we have an intruder. My dog has decided that he's not getting enough attention.
Oh, we see an open door. And
Come here, Nala. Yes.
There you go.
There's John. This is not a family show. I don't know who misled me on that.
Well, and also, by the way, here underneath the left-hand table is the rowdy man, and he's in charge. Mm-hmm. And he is OWT. He is out.
Interesting.
He is the guard who's in charge of it all. And so once again, you see how the show degrades.
Yes.
I am the king of the tangent. Literally, I'm like, oh, squirrel. I'm
sure.
That's
all good. All good hosts have a healthy, if not debilitating, version of ADD.
Debilitating is probably the word.
Yeah. By the way, what am I seeing in the chat? Because I think I might be headed to the airport for the 10 o'clock. So bomb biscuits on Highland and Fred's Dylan Butler cheese. See, okay, you're gonna have to stop there with the cheesesteak nonsense.
Cheesesteak, Fox Brothers barbecue, but I can give you other barbecue. David is giving you Fox Brothers barbecue. Can give you another couple of barbecue joints that can add, but it depends on your Uber range and your travel. So that is, are you renting a car or are you Ubering?
No, Ubering, and I don't really like to go further than 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's just a rule that I have with the hotel. By the way, why are we recommending cheesesteaks in a city other than Philadelphia? Because I grew up in Jersey. My dad went to a college in Pennsylvania, in Philly, and I'm a true cheesesteak kind of guy.
Okay.
Don't say it. Don't be like, this is different. Don't do it.
No, but we do here in town have Woody's, which is from Philly. Woody's is a Philadelphia-based and origined cheesesteak joint.
Yeah, but you
at lunch though.
You and I both know that those things don't travel. Just because the place in Cincinnati says New York Bagels, it ain't New York Bagels. And I'll tell you what. If there's anything that I'm struggling with living in Cincinnati, it's the pizza and bagels. I can't do it. And then their best deli with their sandwiches, it's just not. I can't do it, John. I'm from Jersey originally. I just need to go back where the water is pure. And by pure I mean like
pure what? I was going to say pure what, sir?
Well, I'll tell you no, but the water in New York is actually the cleanest water in the United States. Did you know that?
I was not aware of this.
There's the longest tunnel listen to this. The longest tunnel on planet Earth is actually the pipeline that they have running from the Catskill Mountains running down into New York City. So it's really just runoff water, and it's fantastic. But anyway.
Okay. So
I'm digressing.
I would recommend. So Fox Brothers, I would say, is a part of the discussion. Fat Matt's for barbecue.
Okay.
Also, Fat Matt's Rib Shack. Go hungry for both of those. But yeah, we can definitely get you oriented when it comes to food. And so Friday would have to be the heavier meal of the two. Saturday would have to be something brunchy, probably Martin's for breakfast or somewhere in there. So, okay, so we've got 48 hours to think about it, or 40.
We'll be fine.
We'll be fine. We'll figure it out. So if you're crashing on Friday, once again, that'll be the main topic. Where does the man eat?
Deal.
And so go spend time with Nala, and definitely keep an eye on things. Great to see you, my friend. Don't be a stranger, and we'll see you whenever you crash. And if it happens to be in 47 hours, so be it.
All right. Appreciate you, John. Great family show. Big fan. Big fan.
Yes. Tyler, get out of here. Tyler Terrence putting up with the nonsense here in the morning show. And so now here's what I think. I think that Nala opened the door. If you noticed, Tyler was in his studio space. He was in the studio to Tyler. And then all of a sudden you see the door open. Nala has a fantastic sense of when it's time to go out. Time to go. Your guest spot was only supposed to be 20 minutes. We went sideways with it. You're sitting there, you're overtime. You went through the first OT period, the first 15 minutes. It's time for the coaches to recongregate after the first 15 to get ready for the second 15. Nala's like, nah, fam, we're done. You're out. Time to go out for a walk. Dude, that's, and I can see Tyler in the green room, and he's still kind of hovering and trying to see what else is going on here for the last handful of minutes here on the show. But no, it is mass nonsense hysteria, and we try to talk a little soccer. That's just kind of how we work. But no, I think once again, much like the Rowdy man under here, who is literally Rowdy came in at about 9:20, and he's got a bed under the table. For those unfamiliar, he has a bed under one of the tables here in the office. He's just like, I'm out. You move. I hear the leather chair move. Then I know it's time for me to get up. That means either food or a road trip. One of the two. Time to go outside. That's how Rowdy's wired. He hears the leather shift here in the office, and he knows it's time to boogie. Nala opens doors. That is how talented she is. She opens doors. I mean, no, and the thing is, she didn't even bang on the door. It's just like, I'm going to open the door. The door didn't make any noise. She was stealth about it. I mean, seriously, it took me a second to realize what was going on because Tyler was in his studio. And you can go back and watch this on YouTube later, and this is me recollecting what we just had happen. So literally, Tyler's in his space. He's in the studio to Tyler. Nala opened the door. Like no sound, no nothing, no creaking, no like dark shadows, noise, Friday the 13th stuff, nothing. Literally, she opens the door, comes around from the back, and I can guarantee you she's off to Tyler's left, and she's like, literally, she's like Saba Lobjanidze. Literally, she's like this. It's Nala time. Out. We got to go. Literally, that is how I perceive what happened at the Casa de Tyler in the studio de Tyler. So you now have 47 hours to figure out where Tyler is going to eat, what he's going to eat, give him as many suggestions as humanly possible. Frisbee time. I was not aware of this. Tyler's in the DM chat. He says Frisbee time. Okay, now I get it. Go spend time with Nala. Go Frisbee. Go Frisbee. Have fun. An elite. See now, Tyler. I'm tempted to bring Tyler in, but I know that Nala's going to get mad because once you're in the green room, until you either do an Irish goodbye yourself or I dump you, you're still there and you can still have conversations. But apparently, she's an elite athlete. There goes Tyler. Okay. Apparently, a Frisbee time, an elite athlete in Cincinnati. So once again, full credit to Tyler for hanging out for as long as he did. That's crazy. Absolutely nuts. Okay. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it before we come back here at 11 o'clock. And we get to let you know what's going on the high school ranks. Field trips to both Metter and Jefferson as a part of the show. And efforting others. So David, correct. Murphy's in Virginia Highlands, Lazy Betty, Michelin recommended near downtown. Poppy's Cuban. And yeah, so Fred's cheesesteak. Like I said, I would go Woody's if you're going to go cheesesteak because it is actually Philly cheese from Philly. So that's where we are. But yeah, we went off the rails and no shock. But it's good to have Tyler back as a part of the cadre of folks that can come and crash at any time. All right, so now. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to do. Atletico Madrid interested in signing Christian Romero from Spurs. Everton set to begin talks with Jared Branthwaite over a new deal. United only are going to pursue a summer deal for Branthwaite if Harry Maguire leaves. Arsenal set to offer Gabriel a new deal to deter interest in him going to Saudi Arabia. Real Madrid also interested in William Saliba, the center back partner at Arsenal. Arsenal has joined Liverpool in the race to sign 19-year-old Netherlands defender Jorel Hato from Ajax. Atalanta put an asking price of £50 million on Ademola Lookman amid interest from Manchester United and Newcastle. Villa have begun talks with Boubacar Kamara over a new deal. Barcelona's buyback clause with Francisco Trincao, who has been linked with Manchester United, Arsenal, and Newcastle, ended in June of 2024. So he's free and clear to go and wander as he wishes. And Crystal Palace are progressing in new talks over a new deal for Oliver Glasner amid interest from RB Leipzig. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Once again, our friends at Soccer America with the full grid. Today on Season Pass, MLS Next Pro at 10 and 10:30, activity out west, Ventura County, Dynamo Dos, Timbers 2 in the town. MLSNextPro.com, Crown Legacy and OCB at 7 o'clock. Women's Champions League on DAZN USA 145 at Lyon and Bayern, Arsenal and Real Madrid at 4. And on the 3, it was at 4 o'clock this morning, Brisbane and Melbourne City for our buddy Bam, who might have been missing a little touch of home. Light, again, on Thursday, there's some action in League One on Paramount Plus, the Liga on ESPN Plus, and then, once again, Women's Champions League. That's your Thursday. So, once again, you've got less than 2 days to figure out what Tyler's going to do for eating, and that'll be fun to carry all of that stuff through. So, once again, thanks to Tyler for dropping back in and not being a stranger when it comes to anything and everything going on here on the morning show. Thanks to all of you folks. I'm trying to see if there's any headlines that we might have missed. Once again, we talked about the big headline and the paydays for the clubs that are going to be in the Club World Cup. News from U.S. Soccer this morning within the hour. U.S. Soccer and CBS, a multimedia rights agreement for 25 and 26 for the Open Cup. All Open Cup matches are going to stream live on Paramount Plus from the third round to the final. Select matches airing on CBS Sports Network and Golazo Network. So keep an eye on that as well. And so once again, keep an eye on all the news that's going on. We're definitely going to be keeping an eye on everything going on around the clock. Tomorrow, once again, we catch up with our friends from the Marshall Islands, Lloyd Hours, technical director, and find out about the Outrigger Cup. That's Bet and Leadoff, Nino and Nico, the Power Hour, in hour number 2. And we're heading to Perry for Warner Robins and Perry. And that is going to be on the network tomorrow afternoon and evening. Warner Robins and Perry, the doubleheader. That is Thursday. So coming back a little less than an hour, we're going to talk high school stuff. And we're going to do that with Molly McCarty, the head coach at Jefferson. And we're also going to find out what's going on at Metter and track down a bunch of folks and find out what's going on when it comes to soccer being in session, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. So before we get out of here, let me say hi to everybody that might have joined in hour number 2. I know that Shooter did, and he's a hot mess having to deal with New England Revolution. I'm hoping that Will caught up by playing the show at double speed. So let's see. There's Shooter's Rant. There's Kefsey. Yep, we mentioned Boston Legacy FC. So we'll see what happens. Once again, Shooter going off on rants and the CF Montreal dismissal. We had a Thrashers reference from Derek. It did remind me of Bob Hartley. Bob Hartley getting dismissed after first handful of matches. Listening to him talk, it was like listening to Boom Boom Jeff Round. It was so awesome. Love Bob Hartley. And yeah, first division title and a playoff berth, and then you end up with a slow start and a quick trigger. Morning, Lokeville. Bam, good morning from sunny Los Angeles. Well done. Bam is only 3 hours behind instead of 16 ahead. Richie Williams is available. Nice. And then morning, Abby. Morning, David. Oh, Krog Street. Yes. Krog Street. Definitely. Go to Krog for a Fred's cheesesteak. Let's see. Cuban, Murphy's, and Virginia Highlands up and down the MARTA line. So there you go. But I think Uber would also work there as well. Okay. So that's the suggestions for Tyler Terrence as he comes into town here coming up in 2 days' time. Kinder D. St. Aubin is going to be joining our buddies at Scarves and Spikes. Thanks to the show brought to us by the letters Tyler Pilgrim in hour number 1, Dylan Butler, Tyler Terrence as we went off the rails in hour number 2. Once again, tomorrow, Marshall Islands on the Power Hour with Nino and Nico. Back once again at noon to talk about everything in the high school game. That's a show. Catch your breath. We'll be back in a little bit to discuss what's going on here. Region play, fast and furious in the high school game in the GHSA. So once again, thanks to the Tylers, thanks to Dylan, and thanks to you for being a part of the morning show here in SDH. Play it safe, everybody. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Back at it in about 45 minutes. See you here in a bit.